So if your writing feels like it's not deep enough, or if it feels like your characters are sort of NPCs, or it doesn't feel fully fleshed out, this video is going to help you a lot because I'm going to walk you through how to flesh out your story, how to figure out the big idea, the points of your story that you want to focus on the most, and how to expand your story without necessarily adding more plot details, adding fluff, adding anything that's going to bore your reader. All right, let's dive in. So if you're new here, my name is Rachel. I'm a writing coach. I have an international clientele of writing students. I help writers every single day finish their books through outlining and actually writing it. Story structure is my expertise and it's my one true love. So we're going to talk about story structure today, but not in the way you think. Many of my students come to me with the worry that their premises just aren't good. They feel like their premises are not strong enough or they don't have enough going on in their book. And the truth is, actually, yes, they do. You probably do have everything you already need in your book. It's just that you need to point it in the right direction to get your readers to care about it. It's actually not that hard. So I've got a few steps, four to be specific, that I want you to follow to flesh out your book and make sure that you're pointing it in the right direction. Okay? The first thing and the most important thing is to revisit the core theme or the big idea of your book. So it's really difficult to flesh out a story if you don't know what you're trying to say. This doesn't have to be preachy or life changing, but it does need to mean something. Otherwise, why the heck should I, the reader, care or read it? You might think, oh, I write because it's entertaining, but that's not quite good enough, okay? So last night, I wasn't feeling my best self. I was feeling kind of, I don't know, depressed, if we're being completely honest. And I was feeling a little bit like down in the dumps. And so I wanted to watch a movie to sort of boost my mood a little bit. So I put on a movie. Um, and why did I pick the movie that I picked? Well, because it was the third installment of a movie series that I really like. It had made a promise to me earlier, I like these other two movies, so naturally I will probably like the third movie. That's the promise that it made. And it wasn't necessarily promising to entertain me, it was promising to give me a theme or an idea that would help me feel differently than what I currently felt in that moment, right? You see the difference there? It's just a tiny tweak in how we think about storytelling, but it is an extremely crucial one. So to apply this to your own work, I want you to circle back to the main theme or the big idea of your story. And we can do that by asking a few questions. The first is, what is it you truly want to say? So in my own work, one of my most important themes is about absolution and redemption. I want people, when they read it, to know that no matter how far you've gone off track, you can get back on track and you can actually redeem yourself after something terrible has happened. But you probably haven't read my work yet. So here's a real world example from something you probably have seen. In Macbeth, which I picked because one, I love Shakespeare, and two, it's a fairly common one which most people know at least a little bit about. The main theme or the big idea is about power, right? Shakespeare is telling you through the story that the pursuit of ultimate power is corrupting. It corrupts Macbeth, it corrupts Lady Macbeth, and everyone in their wake perishes, which is pretty sad. Shakespeare's audience was wide and varied, but it's pretty likely that everyone in the audience would know a little bit about what this is about, and that's the point. He's trying to tell everyone, hey, make sure in your pursuit of power, you don't lose yourself, go completely crazy, and annihilate your entire family. That's not a good thing, right? That's his big idea. So after you know what it is you want to say, the second question I want you to ask is why it is important that you say it. Why should you tell the story? We all have life experiences and beliefs that guide the way that we see and think and feel about the world. So what is your life experience or your belief or your interest that qualifies you to tell this story? The good news is you want to, so you definitely have one. Just be very clear about what it is. This is more of that metaphysical type of thing, but when you start to lose your momentum with the story, this is what's going to help you get back on track and actually write it. The third question I want you to ask is, who needs to hear this right now? Basically, who's your audience? What are they looking for? Can you make them a promise and actually deliver on it? So for example, when I was working on this YouTube video and I was working on the notes for it, it was very clear to me who my audience is. It's writers who have really good stories but need to clarify the themes or the big ideas of their book a little bit. Pretty easy for me. I know exactly what you need and I can help you with it. That's the promise, and I'm delivering on it right now while I'm teaching you how to do this. So who is your audience? What do they want? What do they need? What are they looking for when they're engaging with a work? That will help you figure out, okay, here's my story. This is the method I'm going to use to communicate it to them. And four, are there sub themes or sub messages that you can use to help communicate that theme in force, right? Maybe you've got your big idea hammered home, but you need some smaller ideas or some sub themes. subplots that will help you actually deliver this story. This is where that comes in. A good example I like to use is from Star Wars. So in Star Wars, which I'm a big Star Wars fan, you could probably see the tip of my Millennium Falcon cutting board up there. In Star Wars, the big idea is good triumphs over evil, right? But there are smaller ideas that help hammer home this idea in much different ways. For example, good triumphs over evil, but sometimes good can be really difficult. We constantly see the struggle between, Anakin choosing the light side or the dark side, Luke Skywalker choosing the light or the dark side, Kylo Ren, Rey, all of these characters having to choose between what they want or what they need to do versus, good and evil, right? The other thing that Star Wars tells us is that you might lose everything. Because let's be honest, people in Star Wars tend to get shafted all the time. In Rogue One, for example, literally everyone dies. I mean, sorry if you haven't seen it, but it's been out for a while, so I feel like you've had your chance. In Rogue One, they lose everything for the greater good. So it is saying sometimes you're going to have to give it all to sacrifice for the things you really want, which is for good to triumph. Does that sacrifice mean that good isn't good? No, it just means that that good is that much more valuable. You know what I'm saying? The other thing that Star Wars says is that it's difficult to sometimes see what good is. People lie, things can be confusing, it can be difficult to see through all of the smoke and mirrors of the dark side. And so we have to use our clues and use our intelligence to figure out what the good choice actually is. So what all these sub-themes do is they point your reader towards the big idea, good versus evil, and helps them sort it out in ways that makes it relevant to who they are as people, and so they can find it relatable to them. That makes them internalize the story and create it as something of their own. All right, so step 2, now that you have your big idea, I want you to go through your story and figure out what already resonates. So you're not going to rewrite the whole thing right now. You're going to go through and see what is already there and what points to the story that you've already written. You're going to see what is already there and what points to the themes that you just identified in step 1. If you're struggling to find any, look for some points in your story that could line up and might need just a little bit of tweaking and highlight those for now, okay? Now, step 3 is really simple. Make the idea clear in the rest of the book. So if you've got a couple things that are pointing to your main theme, now go back through the book and start identifying everything else that either points to or away from your theme. This is permission for you to start adding things to your book, but I only want you to do this once you've properly diagnosed whether or not your big idea is already relevant in your story. The very last thing I want you to do is to start adding stuff simply for the sake of adding it. That's pointless and will probably make your book worse, if I'm being completely honest with you. So once you've got a focused direction for your book, then and only then do you start adding things to it a little bit at a time. Some things to think about while you're adding. Does your main character already embody what you want to say? For example, are they heroic? Do they embody hope? Or do they have to go through significant character changes to learn the big idea? This is typically the hero's journey, but my favorite example of this is in How to Train Your Dragon, which, fun fact, I have seen 62 times, and I can quote almost word for word while I'm watching it. It's pretty nuts. In How to Train Your Dragon, Hiccup already embodies the main theme, right? Dragons are not the enemy. You shouldn't hurt them, right? And his arc in the story convinces the other Vikings to see the dragons his way. That's sort of the point. Your character's story can and should point to the main theme of your book. They need to go on a character arc where they either learn what that is or they reveal that to everyone else in the story. And step 4, tweak the plot. Maybe. So once you've got your characters, your big idea, and all of the themes we just talked about, I want you to go through your manuscript and start adding plot points that either, one, highlight the big idea of your story or contrast with the big idea of your book. So perhaps it creates a conflict or becomes a red herring for your book idea, and this is stuff that your main character is going to have to sort through as they go on their adventure. Okay? Either way, make sure that whenever you're adding something, it either creates urgency or raises the stakes of your story. This is how you're going to keep your reader interested the entire time. I like to save this step for last because most of the time you don't actually need to add that much to your story. You just need to clarify what's already there and tie it directly to the main theme or the big idea of your book. The truth is that the length of your book is not super important at this stage. It's not, because you're not going for a word count. You're going for depth and complexity, which happens only when you truly have something to say. In other words, the big idea. So I know this can feel really overwhelming, but I promise you, you can do it. Fixing most projects just requires a few small tweaks, so you don't have to rewrite the whole thing right now if you don't want to. And my money's on the small changes, not the big ones. If you want my help with this, I have a free diagnostic tool that you can download. The link is in the description. It's called the Big Idea Diagnostic, and it will help you figure out your big idea and what changes you need to make if you don't have one in your book. Click the link down below if you would like to download that. Make sure to like and subscribe, and if you have a writing topic you want me to cover in future videos, leave it in the comment section down below. I would absolutely love to cover it for you. Thank you for joining me for today's video. My name is Rachel. I'm a writing coach, and I will see you next time. Happy writing.